The first Confederation attack came exactly 72 hours after Admiral Lisa Rodriguez delivered humanity's rejection of their treaty. Ambassador Zekthar had kept his word about the deadline, but his forces struck with precision that took even Lisa by surprise. Within minutes, alien ships had destroyed 3 Earth orbital defense platforms and knocked out the primary communication satellite network. Lisa stood on the Liberty's bridge and watched the tactical display fill with red warning icons. The Confederation fleet moved with perfect coordination, targeting military installations and communication hubs across the solar system. They were trying to blind and silence humanity before demanding surrender. "Damage report," Lisa called out. Captain Jake Morrison consulted his displays. "Earth Defense Command is offline. Mars Command is still functional but under heavy attack. The asteroid mining stations have gone dark and we cannot raise series control." "Are they destroyed?" "Unknown, Admiral. The aliens are using some kind of jamming technology that blocks our sensors, but I am detecting weapon signatures from the asteroid belt. Someone is still fighting out there." Lisa smiled grimly. Captain Lisa Park and her mining crews were tougher than the aliens expected. Converting cargo haulers and ore processors into warships was not easy, but the Void Workers had decades of experience making impossible repairs in deep space. They would not give up easily. "Admiral, incoming transmission from Colonel Torres on Mars," the communications officer announced. Danny Torres appeared on the main screen. His face was grim but determined. "Lisa, the Red Fleet is taking heavy casualties, but we are holding our positions around the orbital shipyards. The alien weapons are powerful, but they seem confused by our defensive formations." "Confused how?" "They keep targeting our main battle cruisers and ignoring the smaller ships. It's like they only see the biggest threats and cannot adapt when our destroyers hit them from unexpected angles." That matched Dr. Amy Sullivan's analysis of Confederation tactics. The aliens were used to fighting primitive species with simple strategies. They had never faced an enemy that used complex formations and adaptive tactics. "Danny, I need you to hold Mars as long as possible. We are going to attempt a breakthrough to the outer system." "Understood. Give them hell, Lisa." The transmission ended and Lisa turned to Jake. "Status of the strike force? 12 destroyers and 43 converted civilian ships are ready for Operation Breakthrough. Dr. Sullivan has identified the Confederation command vessel and plotted an intercept course." Lisa nodded. Amy had spent days analyzing the alien fleet structure and found their weakness. The massive flagship coordinated all Confederation operations through quantum communication links. If they could damage or destroy that ship, the entire alien fleet would be temporarily paralyzed. "Launch all fighters and begin the attack run," Lisa ordered. The Liberty led the human strike force toward the Confederation flagship. Behind them, dozens of converted cargo ships and mining vessels followed in loose formation. The aliens had superior technology, but humans had something the Confederation lacked. Desperation and creativity made a deadly combination. The first wave of alien fighters met them halfway to the flagship. Lisa watched the tactical display as human pilots engaged crystal ships that moved like living creatures. The Confederation fighters were fast and deadly, but they flew in perfect formations that made them predictable. Lieutenant Sarah Kim's voice came through the communication system from her fighter cockpit. "Admiral, these alien ships are beautiful, but they fight like they are dancing. Same moves every time. It's like fighting robots." "Exploit that weakness, Sarah. Show them some human unpredictability." The human fighters broke formation and attacked the aliens from every direction at once. Confederation pilots tried to maintain their perfect patterns but found themselves outmaneuvered by opponents who refused to follow any rules. Within minutes, the first wave of alien fighters was scattered, but the real challenge lay ahead. The Confederation flagship was the size of a small city, and protected by energy shields that could stop planet-killing weapons. Lisa knew that conventional attacks would never penetrate its defenses. "Amy, do you have any ideas about getting through those shields?" Lisa asked. Dr. Sullivan's voice came from the science station. "Admiral, I have been studying the shield frequency patterns. The aliens use rotating harmonics to deflect different types of energy, but there might be a way to disrupt the system." "How?" "The mining charges that Captain Park's people use to break asteroids generate random frequency spikes. If we could coordinate multiple detonations at the same time, we might create enough chaos to overload the shield generators." It was a desperate plan, but desperate times called for creative solutions. Lisa contacted Captain Park on her flagship, the converted ore hauler Determination. Lisa, I hear you need some mining expertise. Park's voice crackled through heavy static. Lisa, we need you to coordinate simultaneous mining charge detonations against the alien flagship's shields. Can your people do it? Admiral, we have been moving rocks for 20 years. One big crystal ship should not be a problem. Give us 5 minutes to position our charges. Lisa watched as the mining ships moved into formation around the Confederation flagship. The aliens seemed puzzled by the approach. These converted cargo vessels posed no obvious threat to their massive warship. The Confederation commanders had no experience with improvised weapons and industrial tools used in combat. Charges in position, Captain Park reported. Ready for coordinated detonation on your mark. All ships, this is Admiral Rodriguez. Execute Operation Rockbreaker in 3, 2, 1 mark. Dozens of mining charges exploded simultaneously against the flagship's shields. The energy barriers flickered and sparked as random frequency patterns overloaded their harmonic stabilizers. For exactly 47 seconds, the mighty Confederation vessel was vulnerable. All ships attack now, Lisa ordered. The Liberty and her escort vessels poured everything they had into the gap in the alien defenses. Missiles, energy beams, and kinetic projectiles hammered the flagship's hull. The damage was not enough to destroy the massive ship, but it was enough to disrupt its command systems. Across the solar system, the effect was immediate. Confederation ships suddenly lost coordination and began moving in random patterns. Some stopped fighting altogether while others fired wildly at empty space. The quantum communication network that linked the alien fleet had been severed. Admiral, this is Danny Torres from Mars. The alien fleet is in chaos. Their ships are not responding to commands and several have withdrawn to defensive positions. Similar reports came in from across the solar system. Human forces that had been barely holding their positions suddenly found themselves fighting confused and disorganized enemies. The tide of battle was turning, but Lisa knew their advantage would not last long. The Confederation would adapt quickly once they realized what had happened. The human fleet needed to press their attack while the aliens were still confused. Jake, signal all human forces. General attack on all fronts. Hit them while they are down. The next 6 hours became known as the Liberation of Sol. Human ships attacked Confederation forces throughout the solar system, using every trick and tactic they could imagine. Mining ships rammed alien cruisers. Fighter pilots used asteroids as cover for surprise attacks. Even civilian vessels joined the battle by jamming alien communications and providing supplies to military units. The breakthrough came when Colonel Torres led a desperate assault on the Confederation command ship near Mars. His flagship, the Red Storm, was destroyed in the attack, but not before his crew managed to plant explosives in the alien vessel's reactor core. The resulting explosion lit up the Martian sky and sent shockwaves through the remaining Confederation forces. Ambassador Zekthar's final transmission came 18 hours after the battle began. His crystal face showed cracks and his voice carried defeat. This is impossible. Primitive species do not defeat Confederation fleets. Your tactics make no sense. That is because you have never fought humans before, Lisa replied. We do not follow your rules. The Confederation Council will send more ships. You cannot resist the combined might of 12 species. Maybe not. But we will keep fighting until the last human ship is destroyed. That is what humans do. The alien fleet began withdrawing beyond the heliopause. They had learned something about humanity that no previous enemy had survived to report. Humans became more dangerous when cornered, and they would never stop fighting for their freedom. As the last Confederation ship disappeared into hyperspace, Lisa looked out at the stars and saw something new. Human ships from across the solar system were forming up in joint formations. Earth and Mars vessels flew side by side for the first time in 30 years. The solar wars were finally over and humanity was truly united. The victory had cost them dearly. Thousands of human lives had been lost and many ships destroyed, but they had won something more valuable than technology or protection. They had won the right to choose their own destiny among the stars. Admiral Lisa Rodriguez stood before the assembled Confederation fleet and felt the weight of human history on her shoulders. The massive alien ships hung in space around Earth like dark clouds waiting to storm. Behind her, the blue planet turned slowly, showing the continents where billions of people waited for her words. President Carter had chosen Lisa to deliver humanity's answer to the Galactic Confederation. The World Council vote had been close but clear. 68% of human representatives had rejected the alien treaty. Now Lisa had to tell Ambassador Zekthar and his fleet that Earth would not surrender its independence. Ambassador Zekthar and members of the Galactic Confederation, Lisa began. Her voice was broadcast across all frequencies so that every human settlement from Luna to the Kuiper Belt could hear. I speak for the people of Earth and all human colonies in our solar system. The crystal being's face appeared on her screen. His expression was unreadable, but Lisa could sense his confidence. He expected humanity to accept Confederation protection, like every other species had done. After careful consideration of your generous offer, we must respectfully decline membership in the Galactic Confederation, Lisa continued. Humanity chooses to walk its own path among the stars. We will make our own mistakes and face our own challenges. We will not trade our freedom for safety. The silence that followed her words seemed to stretch across space itself. Lisa could almost feel the shock from the alien ships. No species had ever rejected Confederation membership. No primitive civilization had chosen independence over protection. Admiral Rodriguez, this decision is most unfortunate, Zekthar finally replied. His voice carried a cold edge that had not been there before. The Confederation Council has discussed this possibility and reached a unanimous conclusion. Humanity cannot be allowed to spread its violence throughout the galaxy. We are not a violent species seeking conquest, Lisa said. We simply want the right to determine our own future. Your recent solar wars prove otherwise. 30 years of destruction between your own people shows that humans cannot govern themselves peacefully. The galaxy will not tolerate another warrior race spreading chaos among civilized worlds. Lisa felt her anger rising but kept her voice steady. Our wars were internal conflicts that we resolved ourselves. We did not attack other species or threaten galactic peace, and not yet. But your aggressive nature makes such expansion inevitable. The Confederation has a duty to protect peaceful civilizations from species like yours. The alien's words revealed his true attitude toward humanity. They were not offering partnership or even protection. They saw humans as dangerous animals that needed to be caged for everyone's safety. Then we have nothing more to discuss, Lisa said. Earth rejects your authority and your protection. We will defend ourselves against any threats, including yours. Admiral, you speak bravely for someone whose species barely understands space travel. Your ships are primitive and your weapons are crude. The Confederation fleet could destroy your entire solar system within hours. Maybe, Lisa agreed. But we will not surrender without a fight. Zekthar's crystal face seemed to shift into what might have been a smile. Very well. Humanity has 72 hours to reconsider this foolish decision. If you do not accept Confederation protection, by then we will be forced to implement protective measures for the good of galactic peace. The transmission ended, and Lisa was alone with her thoughts for a moment. Then Captain Jake Morrison's voice came through her communicator from the Liberty's Bridge. Admiral, the alien fleet is moving into blockade formation around Earth. Long-range sensors show more ships jumping in from hyperspace. We count over 200 vessels now. Lisa had expected this. The aliens would try to intimidate humanity into submission before resorting to direct violence. But their show of force was already having an unexpected effect. Reports were flooding in from across the solar system as human settlements reacted to her broadcast. Admiral, this is Colonel Danny Torres calling from Mars Command, came a familiar voice. The Red Fleet is ready to support Earth. Whatever our past differences, we stand with you against these alien invaders. More messages followed quickly. Captain Lisa Park reported that the asteroid miners of Ceres were converting their industrial ships into makeshift warships. The research stations of Europa and Enceladus were preparing to defend themselves despite having no military vessels. Even the isolated settlements of the Kuiper Belt were organizing militia forces. Dr. Amy Sullivan appeared on Lisa's private screen from the Liberty's Science Lab. Admiral, I have been monitoring alien communications since your broadcast. The Confederation fleet commanders seemed confused by our response. They expected immediate surrender after their show of force. What are they saying? The intercepts are fragmentary, but it appears they are requesting instructions from their home worlds. Several commanders are arguing about how to proceed. I think this is the first time they have encountered organized resistance. Lisa smiled grimly. The aliens had made a crucial error. They had assumed that threatening Earth would terrify humanity into submission. Instead, it had awakened something that the solar wars had not managed to achieve. For the first time in decades, humans from Earth to the outer colonies were working together toward a common goal. Amy, What is the status of our defensive preparations? Better than expected, Admiral. The Mars Coalition has shared their latest military technology with Earth forces. The asteroid mining corporations are contributing their most experienced void workers. Even civilian ships are being modified with improvised weapon systems. And our chances against the Confederation fleet? Amy was quiet for a moment. In a direct confrontation, we would lose quickly. But I have been studying their tactical patterns and found something interesting. They rely heavily on intimidation and overwhelming force. They are not prepared for guerrilla warfare or adaptive tactics. Explain. The Confederation has conquered primitive species for thousands of years. Each conquest followed the same pattern. Show massive force, then accept surrender. They have never faced an enemy that refused to quit after the first defeat. Lisa understood. The aliens were like bullies who had never met anyone willing to fight back. Their entire strategy was based on quick victories against frightened opponents. A prolonged conflict against determined resistance might be something they could not handle. Admiral, I am also detecting strange signals from outside the solar system. Amy continued. 3 different sources are trying to communicate with Earth, but the Confederation is jamming their transmissions. The signal patterns suggest they might be other species attempting to contact us. That was interesting news. If other civilizations were trying to reach humanity despite Confederation interference, it suggested that not everyone in the galaxy supported alien rule. Lisa filed that information away for later consideration. Captain Morrison's voice interrupted her thoughts. Admiral, we are receiving priority communications from fleet commanders across the solar system. They are requesting permission to begin offensive operations against the alien blockade. Lisa looked out at the stars and made her decision. The next 72 hours would determine whether humanity remained free or became another conquered species in the Confederation's collection. But she had seen what humans could accomplish when they worked together. During the Solar Wars, both sides had shown incredible courage and ingenuity. Now that same determination would be focused on a single enemy. Jake, send a message to all human forces. Tell them to prepare for combat operations, but wait for my signal. We will choose the time and place for this fight. And send a priority transmission to Earth Command. Tell President Carter that humanity is about to face its greatest test. As the Confederation fleet tightened its grip around Earth, Lisa Rodriguez prepared for the battle that would decide humanity's future. The aliens had offered safety in exchange for freedom. Now they would learn what happened when humans chose to fight for their independence. The galaxy was about to discover that some species would rather die free than live in chains. The World Council chambers had never been so crowded. President Helen Carter sat at the head of the massive table and looked at faces from every nation on Earth and every colony in the solar system. Even the Mars Coalition had sent representatives despite the bad feelings left over from the Solar Wars. Admiral, Lisa Rodriguez sat to the president's right and felt the weight of every pair of eyes in the room. Ladies and gentlemen, we face a decision that will shape humanity's future. President Carter began. The Galactic Confederation has made their offer clear. Advanced technology, protection from hostile aliens, and an end to human warfare. In exchange, we give up our military forces and accept their oversight of our expansion into space. Chancellor Maria Santos from the European Union leaned forward. Madam President, the benefits they offer could solve our energy crisis and help rebuild the colonies damaged in the wars. My scientists estimate their technology is at least 500 years ahead of ours. And the cost is our independence, Lisa said quietly. I have studied their proposal, and it makes humanity a protected species. We become pets in their galactic zoo. General Robert Kim from the Asian Federation shook his head. Admiral, with respect, your military background makes you see threats everywhere. These aliens have the power to destroy us easily, but instead they offer partnership. That suggests peaceful intentions. Lisa stood up and activated the room's main display. Dr. Sullivan has been analyzing Confederation communication intercepts. Amy, please share your findings. Dr. Amy Sullivan's image appeared on screen from the Liberty. Thank you, Admiral. I have been studying the Confederation for the past week, and the results are disturbing. Of the 12 member species, only 3 show signs of technological advancement in the past 1,000 years. The others appear to have stopped developing new ideas after joining the Confederation. That could mean they achieved perfect harmony, suggested Ambassador Chenwei from Luna Colony. Or it could mean they lost the drive to innovate, Amy replied. I have also detected communication patterns that suggest the Confederation is not as united as they claim. Several member species send encrypted messages that our computers cannot decode, but the frequency patterns suggest distress calls. The room buzzed with quiet conversations. Lisa watched the faces around the table and saw the struggle between hope and fear. These people wanted to believe the aliens offered salvation, but doubt was growing. Admiral Danny Torres from Mars Colony Control spoke up. Even if the Confederation has problems, that does not change our situation. Humanity is divided and weak. Earth and Mars nearly destroyed each other, and the outer colonies barely survived. Maybe giving up some independence is worth avoiding another war. Danny, I fought beside you at Titan, Lisa said. You saved my ship and 2,000 lives that day. You did not do that by surrendering. You did it by fighting for what you believed in. That was different. We were fighting other humans. These aliens could wipe us out without effort. Lisa touched a control and the display changed to show the alien fleet. Yes, they have superior firepower. But Dr. Sullivan's analysis reveals something interesting about their ship designs. Amy, the Confederation vessels are built for intimidation rather than warfare, Amy explained. Their weapons are powerful but designed for quick strikes against primitive targets. The ships have heavy armor but limited maneuverability. They are built to awe inferior species into submission, not to fight prolonged battles against adaptive enemies. President Carter raised her hand for silence. Admiral Rodriguez, what are you suggesting? I am suggesting that the Confederation expects easy conquest. They have faced primitive species that surrender immediately, or advanced species that already think like them. They have never dealt with humans. Foreign Minister John Parker from the African Alliance looked skeptical. Admiral, are you seriously suggesting we could win a war against 12 advanced alien species? I am suggesting that we should not surrender before we know what we are surrendering to. Let me show you something else Amy discovered. The display showed a series of charts and graphs. Amy's voice continued from the speakers. I have been analyzing the psychological profiles of Confederation species based on their communication patterns. They show remarkable similarity in thinking processes. Each species follows the same basic patterns of logic and decision-making. This suggests either natural evolution toward similar thought patterns or artificial conditioning. Artificial conditioning? President Carter asked. Brainwashing, Lisa said simply. The Confederation may be turning different species into copies of themselves. If that is true, then membership means losing not just our independence but our humanity. The room fell silent. Lisa could see the fear in people's faces, but also something else. Anger was starting to replace desperation. Humans did not like being told they were inferior, or that they needed protection from themselves. Ambassador Zekthar's voice suddenly filled the chamber. Forgive the interruption, but we have been monitoring your discussions. The Confederation Council grows concerned about the delay in your decision. Security guards reached for their weapons, but President Carter waved them back. Ambassador, this is a closed meeting. How are you communicating with us? The Confederation has advanced monitoring capabilities. We hear everything that happens in your government centers. This is for your protection, of course. Many species attempt to deceive us during negotiations. Lisa felt her anger rise. The aliens were spying on them and admitting it openly. That showed either arrogance or stupidity, and she was not sure which was worse. We require privacy to make this decision, President Carter said firmly. Privacy is an illusion that primitive species cling to. The Confederation operates on principles of complete transparency and unity. Individual desires must not be allowed to interfere with the greater good. Whose definition of the greater good? Lisa asked. The Confederation Council has managed galactic peace for over 10,000 years. We understand what is best for all species. And if we disagree, there was a pause before Zekthar answered, and when he spoke, his voice was colder. Disagreement is a sign of incomplete understanding. The Confederation has ways to help species overcome such confusion. We have never failed to bring peace to a region of space. The transmission ended, but Lisa knew everyone had heard the threat. The aliens were not offering partnership. They were demanding submission. She looked around the room and saw that the mood had changed. Fear was being replaced by determination. The vote is tomorrow, President Carter announced. I want each delegation to consider carefully what we have learned today. We are not just choosing between war and peace. We are choosing between freedom and slavery. As the meeting broke up, Lisa noticed that representatives from Earth and Mars were talking together for the first time in years. The asteroid miners were comparing notes with the Europa research teams. The alien threat was doing something the solar wars had never accomplished. It was uniting humanity. Dr. Sullivan contacted Lisa through her personal communicator. Admiral, I have been running more analysis on the Confederation ships. I found something important. Their energy signatures show they are using a centralized command system. If we could disrupt their flagship, the entire fleet might be paralyzed. How certain are you? 70%. But Admiral, there is something else. I have detected 3 encrypted signals coming from different parts of the galaxy. They are trying to reach Earth, but the Confederation is blocking them. I think other species are trying to warn us. Lisa smiled grimly. The aliens had made their first mistake. They had revealed their true nature too early and given humanity a chance to prepare. Tomorrow the World Council would vote on the treaty. But Lisa already knew which way the vote would go. Humans might fight among themselves, but they always stood together when outsiders tried to take their freedom. The real question was not whether humanity would reject the treaty. The question was whether they could survive the consequences of that rejection. Lisa looked up at the stars through the chamber's dome and knew they were about to find out. Admiral Lisa Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the ESS Liberty and watched the stars change. The year was 2157 and space had never looked so dangerous. Her ship floated near Jupiter and the gas giant looked peaceful, but Lisa knew better. 3 days ago, the sensors had picked up something impossible. Ships had appeared at the edge of their solar system, and they were not human ships. The solar wars had ended only 2 years ago. 30 years of fighting between Earth and Mars had left everyone tired and angry. Lisa had fought in those wars and seen too many good people die. Now she commanded the Liberty, and it was humanity's best warship. But even the Liberty looked small next to what was coming toward them. Captain Jake Morrison walked up to her and handed her a datapad. His face was serious and Lisa could see worry in his eyes. Admiral, the long-range scans are complete. There are 12 ships out there and each one is bigger than anything we have ever built. They are asking to speak with Earth's leaders. Lisa took the pad and studied the readings. The alien ships were massive and their technology was far beyond human understanding. Energy readings showed power levels that could destroy planets. But the strange thing was that the ships were not attacking. They were just sitting there and waiting. Any word from Earth Command? Lisa asked. President Carter is calling an emergency meeting of the World Council. She wants you there in person. The aliens say they want to meet with our most important military leader. Lisa nodded and looked back at the stars. The aliens had picked a good time to show up. Earth was still healing from the wars and people were scared. The Mars colonies were angry about losing and the outer settlements felt forgotten. If these aliens wanted to cause trouble, they could not have found humanity at a weaker moment. Dr. Amy Sullivan joined them on the bridge. She was the Liberty's science officer, and one of the smartest people Lisa had ever met. Amy had been studying the alien signals for 3 days, and her findings were interesting. Admiral, I have been looking at their communication patterns. These beings call themselves the Galactic Confederation. They say they represent 12 different species, and they have been watching us for a long time. Watching us do what? Lisa asked. Fight each other. They seem very interested in our wars. The message they sent to Earth talks about bringing peace to humanity. They want to offer us membership in their confederation. Lisa felt a cold feeling in her stomach. In her experience, when someone offered help during a crisis, they usually wanted something in return. What kind of membership? Amy pulled up the alien message on her tablet. They are offering advanced technology and protection from hostile species. They say they can end human warfare forever and help us expand safely into the galaxy. But there are conditions. There always are, Jake muttered. The alien message was long and full of fancy words, but Lisa understood the important parts. The Confederation wanted humanity to give up all military ships except for basic planetary defense. They wanted control over human expansion into space. They wanted to put monitoring stations in every human settlement. In return, they promised peace and technology and protection. Lisa had heard similar offers before. During the solar wars, both Earth and Mars had received help from arms dealers who promised to end the fighting. Those deals had only made the wars last longer and cost more lives. Now aliens were making the same kind of promises, on a much bigger scale. Admiral, we are receiving a priority transmission from the alien flagship, the communications officer announced. Put it on screen. The view screen flickered and showed something that made everyone on the bridge go quiet. The being on the screen was tall and made of what looked like living crystal. Its voice was smooth and calm, but there was something cold about it. I am Ambassador Zekthar of the Veltari. I speak for the Galactic Confederation. We wish to meet with Admiral Lisa Rodriguez. Lisa stepped forward. I am Admiral Rodriguez. What do you want? We want to save your species from itself. Humanity has shown great potential but also great violence. We have watched your solar wars with sadness. So much death and destruction could have been avoided. The Confederation offers a better way. What way is that? Peace through unity. Order through cooperation. Your species can join our Confederation and enjoy the benefits of galactic civilization. No more wars, no more suffering. Your people can focus on art and science instead of building weapons. Lisa studied the alien's face. It was hard to read expressions on something made of crystal, but she sensed that this Zekthar was used to getting what he wanted. And if we refuse? Refusal would be unfortunate. The galaxy is a dangerous place for species that insist on remaining primitive and violent. Without Confederation protection, humanity would face many threats. Some species in the galaxy do not share our peaceful values. The threat was politely worded, but it was still a threat. Lisa had heard the same tone from pirates and warlords during the Solar Wars. Join us or face the consequences. I will need to discuss this with Earth's leadership. Of course, we will wait near your outer planet, but please do not wait too long. The Confederation Council grows impatient with species that delay important decisions. We have seen what happens to civilizations that choose violence over peace. The transmission ended and the bridge was quiet for a long moment. Lisa looked at Jake and Amy and saw her own thoughts reflected in their faces. These aliens had come offering help, but their words carried the smell of conquest. Amy, I want you to study everything we know about the Confederation. Look for patterns in how they deal with other species. Jake, start preparing defensive plans for the solar system. If these negotiations go badly, I want options. Admiral, do you really think we should reject their offer? Amy asked. Their technology could solve our energy problems and help rebuild after the wars. Lisa thought about the question carefully. The aliens were offering solutions to humanity's problems, but the price was freedom. During the Solar Wars, she had seen what happened when people gave up their right to defend themselves. They became victims. Amy, would you rather be safe in a cage or free in the wilderness? Free, Amy answered without hesitation. Then you understand my concern. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell President Carter I am coming home and we need to talk. Tell her to gather leaders from all the colonies, including Mars. This decision affects everyone. As the Liberty turned toward Earth, Lisa watched the alien ships through the viewports. They hung in space like waiting predators, and their presence changed everything. Humanity had always fought its own battles and made its own mistakes. Now strangers from across the galaxy wanted to take that burden away. But Lisa knew that some burdens were too important to give up. The right to choose your own path was one of them. The next few days would determine humanity's future. Lisa had fought for human independence during the Solar Wars. Now she might have to fight for it again on a much larger scale. But she was ready. Some things were worth fighting for, and freedom was at the top of that list. 6 months after the Battle of Sol, Admiral Lisa Rodriguez stood in the newly constructed Unity Station orbiting Earth. Through the massive observation windows, she could see ships from every human settlement working together to build humanity's first deep space exploration fleet. The sight still amazed her. Earth destroyers worked alongside Mars mining vessels, while crews from the outer colonies shared technical knowledge that had been kept secret during the Solar Wars. President Helen Carter joined Lisa at the observation deck. Her face showed the exhaustion of someone who had not slept well in months, but her eyes held satisfaction. The Senate vote was unanimous, Lisa. The Terran Republic is officially established, with you as the first Fleet Admiral of the United Sol Defense Force. Lisa nodded but kept watching the construction work outside. Any word from our deep space reconnaissance missions? Captain Morrison's report came in this morning. He has made contact with 3 former Confederation member species. All of them are requesting assistance with their independence movements. That news did not surprise Lisa. Dr. Amy Sullivan's analysis had been correct about cracks in the Confederation's unity. The defeat at Sol had encouraged other species to question alien rule for the first time in centuries. Now humanity found itself in the strange position of helping to liberate civilizations that were thousands of years older than their own. What about the Zephyrians? Captain Torres established communications with their underground resistance. They are asking for human military advisors and modern weapons technology. Apparently, our tactics during the battle have become legendary across their sector. Lisa smiled at the irony. 6 months ago, humanity had been a divided species barely recovered from civil war. Now they were being asked to teach galactic warfare to aliens who had been spacefaring for millennia. The Confederation's greatest mistake had been underestimating human adaptability. Dr. Sullivan approached carrying a data tablet loaded with the latest intelligence reports. Admiral, I have completed my analysis of the intercepted Confederation communications. The situation is even better than we hoped. How so? 7 of the 12 member species have declared independence from Confederation rule. 3 others are in open rebellion. Only the Veltari crystal beings and 1 other species remain loyal to the original alliance. Amy pulled up a holographic display showing the current galactic political situation. The once mighty Confederation had fractured into competing factions while former member worlds rushed to align themselves with the new human republic. The most interesting development is from the Altarian system, Amy continued. They were one of the founding members of the Confederation, but their government has formally requested a mutual defense treaty with Earth. They want human protection from Confederation retaliation. President Carter shook her head in amazement. A year ago, we were fighting each other over mining rights in the asteroid belt. Now alien civilizations are asking us to protect them from galactic empires. What is our response? Lisa asked. The Senate approved the mutual defense agreements by a wide margin. We also voted to establish the Sol Accords, a new interstellar organization based on voluntary membership and species self-determination. Lisa had helped draft those accords during long nights aboard the Liberty. Unlike the Confederation's system of enforced unity, the Sol Accords respected each member species' right to govern themselves. The only requirements were peaceful relations with other members and cooperation against external threats. Admiral, there is one more thing, Amy said quietly. I have been monitoring long-range sensors and detected a massive fleet movement in Confederation space. Ambassador Zekthar appears to be gathering the remaining loyal forces for a major offensive. Lisa had expected this eventually. The crystal beings would not accept their empire's collapse without a fight, but she was no longer the desperate commander of humanity's last free fleet. The United Sol Defense Force now included ships and crews from dozens of species who had chosen freedom over security. How long until they arrive? Based on their projected course, approximately 4 months. The fleet includes over 500 ships from the remaining Confederation worlds. President Carter looked concerned. That is 3 times larger than the force that attacked us before. But we are not the same species they attacked before, Lisa pointed out. We have allies now. More importantly, we have something to fight for beyond just survival. The next 4 months passed quickly as humanity and its new allies prepared for the second Battle of Sol. Unlike the previous conflict, this would not be a desperate defense by a divided species. The combined fleets of the Sol Accords had been training together for months, and their crews had learned to fight as a unified force. Captain Lisa Park had been promoted to admiral and commanded the Industrial Defense Corps. Her converted mining ships had been upgraded with advanced weapons provided by grateful alien allies. The Altarians had shared shield technology that made human vessels nearly as durable as Confederation warships. Admiral Danny Torres led the Mars Expeditionary Fleet, a fast attack force designed to strike at enemy formations before they could organize. His crews included volunteers from 6 different species who had learned human tactical doctrines and adapted them to their own ship designs. When the Confederation fleet finally arrived at the edge of the solar system, they faced something unprecedented in galactic history. Over 800 ships from 23 different species waited for them in perfect formation. The Sol Accords had become more than just a mutual defense treaty. It had become a symbol of hope for every species that wanted to determine its own destiny. Ambassador Zekthar's final communication was brief and bitter. You have corrupted the natural order of galactic civilization. The Confederation brought peace and stability for 10,000 years. Now you offer only chaos and warfare. Admiral Rodriguez replied from the bridge of her new flagship, the RSS Liberty. We offer something you never understood. The right to choose. Every species in this fleet is here by their own decision. They fight not because they were ordered to, but because they believe freedom is worth defending. Your rebellion ends today, Zekthar declared. The Confederation will restore order to the galaxy. The Confederation died when you attacked Earth, Lisa replied. What we built in its place is something better. A community of free worlds working together, by choice rather than force. The Second Battle of Sol lasted 3 days and became the decisive engagement of what historians would call the Liberation Wars. The Confederation's remaining forces fought with the desperation of a dying empire, but they could not match the determination of species fighting for their independence. The key moment came when Admiral Park led her industrial ships in a direct assault on the Confederation flagship, while Admiral Torres used his expeditionary force to cut off the alien fleet's retreat. Surrounded and outmaneuvered, the once mighty Confederation finally admitted defeat. In the aftermath, Lisa stood once again in the observation deck of Unity Station. But now she was not alone. Ambassadors and military officers from dozens of worlds worked together to plan humanity's expansion into the galaxy. They were not going as conquerors, but as liberators, carrying the message that had started on Earth and now echoed across the stars. Captain Morrison had been promoted to lead the Deep Space Exploration Command. His mission was to find other species trapped under authoritarian rule and offer them the choice that the Confederation had tried to deny humanity. The right to be free. Dr. Sullivan had become Director of Interspecies Relations, helping former Confederation worlds learn to govern themselves after centuries of alien rule. Her greatest challenge was teaching species that had forgotten how to make their own decisions that freedom required responsibility. As Lisa watched the construction of humanity's first interstellar colony ship, she reflected on how much had changed since that day when alien vessels first appeared at the edge of their system. Earth had faced a choice between safety and freedom. They had chosen freedom, and in doing so had changed the galaxy forever. The stars no longer looked dangerous to Lisa Rodriguez. They looked full of possibility. Somewhere out there were species still trapped under the rule of those who claimed to know what was best for them. Humanity and its allies would find them and offer them the same choice Lisa had made that day on the Liberty's Bridge. The right to choose their own path among the stars. The right to make their own mistakes and win their own victories. The right to be free. Ambassador Zekthar had been wrong about one thing. Humanity had not brought chaos to the galaxy. They had brought something far more dangerous to authoritarian empires. They had brought the idea that every thinking being deserved the right to determine their own destiny. That idea would spread from star to star until every corner of the galaxy rang with the declaration Lisa Rodriguez had made on behalf of humanity. Some things were worth fighting for, and freedom stood at the top of that list.